statements of the Minara Chamber of Commerce is the importance of technology in business. I mean, there's no amount of value that can be placed on technology in any form of business, whether it's a big corporate or whether it's your sole prop dealing in a cafe down the road.
Of course, and Fahim, the interesting part of it is, previously when you ran a business, you had to have an office, you had a desk, you had a boardroom. Today, there's no need for you to even be on the factory floor or in the boardroom or in the office. You can control your office, you can control your business, you can control your factory. In fact, you can control the world from your pocket. The smartphone that we have in our pocket has got so much of capability in it. The technology that exists in it to run our businesses is astounding, and we need to start adopting. A number of businesses are now starting to think about technology in their businesses. How do we interact with our customers? How do we market our businesses? How do we run the effective part of our business, our human resources, our sales? All of it, we basically, Fahim, you can sit on Durban's beachfront on the beach itself with the computer in your hand and run your multi-billion rand business up in Johannesburg.
Pleasure to welcome on the line this evening Richard Waters. Richard is an Esquire spokesperson. He's been in the IT industry for over 20 years, vast experience in international and local brands. He's been instrumental with Esquire in being the first company in the world to obtain the FIFA license to manufacture IT products under the FIFA brand. Richard travels regularly to overseas to keep abreast of the latest technologies and innovations. Pleasure to welcome Richard. Richard, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. How are you?
All doing well. Richard, you join myself, Fahim Mohammed from Johannesburg, and Ebrahim Patel out in Durban. Richard, let me start off and ask you, obviously, and I asked Ebrahim the same question, and you see it on the first-hand basis. Technology impacts our lives, whatever form of business we're in.
This is very true, sir. And I think you'll find that as time goes on, technology is going to impact more and more parts of our lives, whether we like it or whether we don't. I mean, we see it with online banking now, where they're actually starting to incentivize people to rather go for online banking to save costs. And we at Esquire are seeing it every day. We have more and more clients moving to online business because that's a major focus for us over the past 2 to 3 years. And we've seen major growth in those areas where people are starting to see the benefit of having, as your previous guest had just said, technology in your pocket. I mean, it's so simple to run any business, depending on what really it is. It doesn't really matter. But you can have a reasonable access to most things in your life, technology, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a computer, and all these things can be interlinked. And the thing is, it's just going to get closer and closer to where, at some point, I don't know where it's going to end because I don't think anyone really does, but the giants in the industry are telling us that the products will become smaller, faster, and I don't really know where it's going to end, except to say that it'll just become easier for us all to be able to use technology, which I think is one of the things that everyone was scared to do in the past, is actually touch technology. Everyone had this hands-off approach of, I'm not sure about technology, let me leave it alone. It's so much easier nowadays.
Richard, you talk about technology, and one of the points that you alluded to is this resistance of adopting technology. How do you see businesses changing in that? Because at one stage technology was you brought in an IT person, he told you what computer you wanted. Today companies are not talking about not having a CEO but having a CTO, a Chief Technology Officer in their businesses.
This is very true. And I think that is, I think your CTOs and your chief information people are becoming much more involved in the day-to-day planning of what we're going to do for tomorrow, how your business operates, how are we going to attract new customers, how are we going to be innovative in attracting customers to us and keeping a competitive edge over our competitors. And these are things that, as you just rightly said, that these people are trying to look at the international trends and trying to evaluate and say, right, where is my niche? How do I get an edge over my competitors? And these people are becoming more and more valuable to basically any industry.
One of the biggest... Sorry, Ebrahim, please carry on.
No, Fahim, you please go ahead.
Well, one of the biggest issues for me, and as Ebrahim mentioned, is you have this new chief technology officer within all companies, or chief information officer. The problem for me, and we've seen it recently with, unfortunately or fortunately, with the Ashley Medicine issue, is the data security. I mean, that's a massive risk for companies at the moment.
I think it always has been a risk. It's just because people have are now more determined to get access to information that they shouldn't really get hold of. I mean, we see it with WikiLeaks. We see it with all these different. I mean, that's just again, we just have to be more prudent about how we put in the measures in making sure that we have the right sort of protocols in our business or in their business to make sure that we are as protected as what we can. Look, at the end of the day, these guys do this for a living, and extremely well, they're extremely bright people. They're usually geniuses. They get hired because they've got a chip on their shoulder against the world, and suddenly they think that by bringing down a massive organization that'll change anything. It doesn't always work in that way in an ideal world, but the idea is just to try and keep your key issues and your core values of your business and its entire integrity of the system intact by putting in the correct hardware and software applications.
People look at, most businesses would look at, when you talk about technology, they just talk about, yes, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. There's obviously this confusion between technology for the business and technology used for media marketing, for social media marketing, or for digital marketing. There's obviously a difference between them, right?
Yes, Ebrahim, you're absolutely right. And I think that unfortunately fortunately or unfortunately, there's been an overlap because of the upsurge of the social media. I mean, Facebook now has close to 2 billion people. Obviously, some businesses are going to try and take advantage of that and try and put their promotions and put their products and so on on there. But those are primarily aimed at the consumer level. If you're aiming at a business level, there's lots of other forums that you can go on to. But I think you're absolutely right by saying that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are more the sort of a social media, and I think the word is exactly right on the social side. I mean, there's nothing wrong with mixing business with social, but when you're trying to attain a certain goal, unless you're selling directly to the consumer, those are not particular markets that companies like Esquire would go out and just sort of advertise all of our pricing and so on to the consumer, because that's not the way that we work. And I know that a lot of the retail shops would, like Game and Macro and Dion, because that is their channel. But I think you're absolutely right to say that they do overlap quite heavily.
But it's also important that if you are going to be a retailer that's marketing to the consumer on social media, you need to be very careful on your brand strategy, on what you do. We've seen numerous companies where it backfires advertising on social media.
Correct, and I think we've seen that actually quite recently, where there's been quite a few of rather large retailers have taken a bit of a gamble, and they've gone to these sites, and they've had, like you said, they've had some backlash, they've had some rather questionable product quality, and it's come back and it's bitten them quite hard. I think if those companies just keep in mind what it is that they're trying to be innovative about. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being innovative, but I think that you obviously need to take it on step by step. I think anyone who just changes their entire business overnight for technology needs to think very carefully and not just rush and go ahead and replan their entire company just because there's a small technology change here or a small technology change there. But I think on the whole, you'll find that as many of these retailers have to try to get as much of the message across to the consumer without trying to paste over what is their key range of products, as well as what kind of customer that they're trying to attract.
The technology goes a lot into automation as well. We've seen, let's talk about retailers. Most retailers' technology strategy would just be about the point of sale. How do we automate the point of sale process? But it goes beyond that. It's your stock management systems. It's about your customers integration, your CRMs. There should be quite a large strategy around business, right, Richard?
Yeah. In fact, before I started with Esquire, I spent quite a few years in doing exactly what you're talking about with some of the large kind of retailers to try and make sure that there is no point having this fantastic strategy of marketing and advertising if you've got nothing to sell, or the product that you have doesn't appeal to the customer that you're trying to sell to. I think you have to have a very niche mix of good, better, best focused products to your customers, and you have to pick the correct outlet to be able to do that, and you have to have behind that a very, very strong system of logistics, making sure that your financial system is extremely strong, make sure the integrity of your system is good, because a lot of companies find that somehow they get corruptions in their systems, and then they get stock that goes missing, and they don't know why, and then they start losing money, and then they don't know why, and then the big thing, of course, is when they get stock that is faulty, they don't know how to handle it with their suppliers, then suddenly it piles up, and before you know it, 20% of your stock is lying in the faulty, and suddenly now instead of running at a 25% profit, you're now running at a 5% profit because 20% of it is lying in your warranty bin.
Richard, from my side, one of the big issues in South Africa, impacting South Africa currently, is load shedding. And I was privileged enough to be in Nigeria a few weeks ago, and I saw almost every company there has massive generators, particularly the big financial institutions, and they just keep these generators on for long periods of time because it's too risky with the electricity supply in Nigeria at least, and we're facing a similar situation now in South Africa. Surely that has a huge impact on how you design and what sort of technology systems you have and what sort of backups you have for your technology within your workspace and your work environment.
So you couldn't have hit the nail harder on the head than the point I was about to make. When Esquire actually started, the first thing that our team did was say, listen, let's put in a massive generator, so if we ever have a power cut, and this is going back 7-8 years before we had any power problems, we said, let's make sure that we're ready so that it doesn't inconvenience our customers. Now it's here. Now Eskom is floundering, I think would be the correct word. And I think if businesses don't have a strategy to be able to continue, they're going to start losing customers, they're going to start inconveniencing customers. Customers don't want to come there because, it's load shedding because it's Thursday between 2 and 4, that place is closed, so let me rather go to the other computer shop across the street because I know that they have power 24/7. So you're absolutely right. Those who don't plan for this kind of impact is really going to have, and again, there is no real strategy in terms of what we as the consumer knows from Eskom as to how long this is really going to take. It's going to be 6 months, it's going to be 1 year, 2 years. We don't really know. So until we do, we have to plan for the worst case. And I know it might be sort of being a little bit paranoid, but I would rather be a little bit more, I would rather plan for the worst, and then at least I'm prepared so that should things do get worse, at least I'm ready for it, as we are.
Richard, when Bezos launched Amazon 21 years ago, everyone predicted the end of bricks and mortar, and they said it will just be clicks that we would be going to. We haven't seen that happen. There's the bricks and mortar stores have still remained.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with them, but I do know that we've seen some changes in even some of the workings of some of our companies here that have got a similar structure. Some of them have had to change because of the technology has changed. But your point is right. I'm not particularly familiar with that company.
Amazon. We're talking about Amazon.com.
Yeah, I know. But the point I was just trying to make is I'm not exactly sure how the business has changed, except for the fact that they've had to just adapt new products for the same sort of clientele. I don't think that their core business has changed too much over the past, say, 10 years.
But we'll still have the physical buildings to go to do business with. We won't see businesses disappear and we're doing everything online, would we?
I don't think that'll be the case. I think you're absolutely right. I think they'll because a lot of consumers still like to have that touch and feel. You look at the retailers in this country, still, the majority of the consumer products are still sold from people who just like to walk through a shopping mall, they like to have a cup of coffee and then go and do their shopping. But having said that, there has been, because of the online peace of mind and the security now for the last, say, 3-4 years, we have seen a massive uptake in online shopping. So it got to a stage now where we have at Esquire an entire team working specifically only for online because we see that as the next generation. We've planned this now for the past 4 or 5 years because we've seen that it was coming. And I think that those who start planning that now will see those benefits when online becomes a lot stronger than what it is now.
Richard, let's leave it there for this evening. We thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for yours. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Richard. He's the spokesperson at Esquire Technologies. Ebrahim, we'll have to leave it there.